Well, we love featuring authors on the show, so we can kind of go really beyond the book and really ask the author. So joining me right now is Allison Spooner, who we've actually featured before, so if she looks familiar, you know why. But it's so nice to see you again, Allison.
Awesome. It's great to be here again. Thank you.
Yes. So if you recall, you came on here for your first book, The Lost Girl, A Neverland Story, but since then you've written a new book that's kind of hit closer to home. So this is called The Things We Cannot Change, a story about ghosts created by addiction. So huge title right there, a lot to swallow. What was the inspiration for you to write a book like this?
I always say it's the book I always knew I would write. So it is actually a fictionalized version of my own story growing up with and losing my dad to alcoholism. And so it was just a story I have always had inside me. I've always known I wanted to be a writer since even before I could write. And I think growing up with something like that happening, you just kind of always have it in the back of your head that you know you're going to write about it someday.
Right. A writer's instinct, you know, a story to be told. Now, how do you explore these emotions? You know, you mentioned the ghost of addiction. How do you explore those emotions in this book? How is it kind of laid out?
Yeah, so the plot of the book, I mentioned it's fictionalized, so it does have kind of a fictional story to it, is from the point of view of Callie. She's 1 year away from the death of her father, who passed away from alcoholism, and she suddenly finds herself face to face with his ghost. She is asked nicely to speak at a memorial that her mom would like to have. She's not thrilled about it, and now she also has to deal with being face to face with her dad, dealing with the feelings she's been trying to bury for the last year and not deal with. And she suddenly has to deal with them both in the terms of the memorial and in terms of seeing her dad right in front of her again.
Wow, wow. That is definitely a very, very emotional book. So I'm sure that writing this had to have been challenging. What was the most challenging part of sitting down and writing this and taking something that, you know, hits so close to home, but kind of rewriting the story with kind of a new character so other people can also relate to it?
Yeah, I think the challenging parts aren't what people think they would be. I've actually been writing this story slowly over the last 20 years.
Wow.
I've been writing it in bits and pieces, as shorter stories, as pieces I might read at like open mics or local events. So I've been working on it for a long time. I think the more challenging part was kind of deciding what to include and what not to include, because there are a lot of people this impacts, not just me, and a lot of those people are still living. There are a lot of, you know, cute little stories that I would have liked to include, but it still has to be a compelling story and make sense to people who don't know me, don't know our story. So just trying to decide what was going to be compelling and what would still make it a good story for those that didn't know me, and make it something people would want to read. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, what you've already described right now is something that I know I want to read and is a great conversation starter. So what's been the response so far since you've kind of released that you're going to be releasing a book like this?
The response has been amazing. I had ARC readers take a look at it early and they got to read it, and I've been told that it's kind of changing lives, which feels strange to say. It's encouraged people to have conversations with family members that may be facing addiction, to talk to them about things they might not have talked to them before. So it's already helping people, and it's not even out yet, which is amazing.
Yeah, and on that note, you mentioned it's not even out yet because the book launch is happening on the 29th, as you can see right there. But this has been an amazing conversation so far, and I know you've opened up about this story on social media, and you're inviting people to do the same at this book launch. So coming up after the break, we're kind of going to dive into those details, because obviously this isn't super easy, but very important. So we'll have more of that after the break.